A suspect is in custody related to the shooting last night in South Crest that left one San Diego police officer dead and another wounded.
He cared. He came to work every single day just wanting to make a positive difference in the lives of our community. And last night he lost his life trying to make a positive difference and protect our community.
We have the latest on the investigation coming up right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. Two men are in custody after the fatal shooting last night of a San Diego police officer and the wounding of another. One is a suspect in the shooting. The other is being investigated for his possible connection to the crime. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has more.
Police named 52-year-old Jesse Michael Gomez as the suspect in the shootings. He was shot and is in the hospital. The second man, Marcus Antonio Casani, was arrested on an outstanding warrant. Police are unsure of his involvement in the shootings. The two officers were part of the police department's gang unit. They attempted to stop an individual last night. Seconds later, they called for backup. The arriving officers found them with gunshot wounds, and they were taken to separate hospitals. Jonathan de Guzman, 43, died of his injuries. The second officer, 32-year-old Wade Irwin, remains in the hospital and is expected to survive. Police Chief Shelley Zimmerman spoke to reporters this morning.
I can't begin to put in words the emotions and feelings that surround an event like this. This is one of the most difficult and heart-wrenching situations for police officers to go through.
Zimmerman added that it's too soon to know whether the officers were targeted in an ambush, but that officer safety is always a concern.
And to have this happen to our police officers, we have seen this happen way too many times just in these last few weeks across our great country. It is tragic for everyone.
Police today deployed SWAT teams at multiple houses near the shooting. Those operations ultimately led to the second man's arrest this afternoon. And this is the first fatal shooting of a San Diego police officer in 5 years. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Local leaders are calling for peace at a vigil this evening in honor of the officers. KPBS reporter Taryn Minto is there, and we heard from her just a few minutes ago.
Reverend Shane Harris of the National Action Network just laid a wreath near the site of the shooting a few moments ago to show solidarity. The organization previously was calling for a protest of Councilwoman Myrtle Cole after she made controversial remarks about race and police relations. Now, Harris says that now is not a time for protest, but he called for a sign of unity with this vigil.
There's two different items here. Myrtle Cole has been a subject because she made a statement at the city council meeting on the 26th saying that black-on-black crime affirms racial profiling. We felt that it was important to pause on Myrtle Cole because she's not the focus today. The focus today is officers who have been killed in our community, innocents, officers who don't deserve to be killed. And we're here to say that we're going to stand with police as we do other folks.
Harris says he invited the police and some officers may join later. Community members are encouraged to join them this evening. Reporting in southeastern San Diego, I'm Taryn Mento.
As the debate over who should have guns and under what circumstances continues, today the San Diego County Gun Owners PAC brought people together in opposition of Proposition 63, a collection of gun regulations that would, among other things, make gun theft a felony and require gun owners to quickly report lost or stolen guns to police.
Assemblymember Rocky Chavez.
Supporters call it safety for all, while opponents like Assemblymember Rocky Chavez say Proposition 63 won't make anyone safer.
Prop 63 is an issue that Newsom wants to use to become the next governor of California. It has nothing to do with safety in the community.
He's referring to Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, who spearheaded the proposition. Today, the San Diego County gun owners spoke out against it, including the provision that would ban possession of ammunition magazines holding more than 10 rounds. San Diego business owner Ryan Peterson worries the law targets the wrong people.
They want to blame law-abiding gun owners for their failure to secure our cities from criminals and terrorists.
Attendees offered condolences to the San Diego Police Department for the Thursday night shooting that killed one officer and critically injured another. But former San Diego Councilman Carl DeMaio says if passed, Prop 63 wouldn't have prevented the tragedy.
A police officer gunned down by a gangbanger who would not comply with any law that we pass on guns, including Prop 63.
Opponents add Proposition 63 is an attack on the Second Amendment.
The Brady campaign tries to prevent gun violence. The San Diego chapter says if passed, Prop 63 would help to keep guns out of the hands of criminals.
Frankly, the Brady campaign is not interested either in violating that amendment or any other amendment in the Constitution or taking people's guns away en masse. The only thing that we're trying to do in exploring and trying to innovate are common sense laws that would work in keeping more of the so-called bad guys from getting these types of guns while allowing responsible law-abiding gun owners to continue to enjoy their use of their firearms.
Prop 63 will appear on the November ballot. A Miramar-based Marine was killed last night in a jet crash. Military officials say the fighter jet went down near 29 Palms in the Mojave Desert. The Marine has not yet been identified, and the cause of the crash is still under investigation. The paints that give cars their sparkle and luster are far less toxic than they used to be, but complaints about the fumes from auto body shops outnumber almost all other air quality complaints in San Diego County. Earlier, I spoke with Ingrid Lobet of our partner, iNewsSource, about her latest news and numbers investigation.
So, Ingrid, what are some of the complaints people have about these auto body shops?
People complain about strong smells. Sometimes they can see paint or something cloudy coming out of the shop or the spray booth. People have complained it was making them sick or making their kids sick. A lot of the paints used in this kind of work have gotten so much less toxic, but there are still some strong solvents.
And just how dangerous are these solvents?
Solvents used in auto body can be harmful for people's health. Short-term effects of breathing solvents like xylene can be headache, dizziness, and you could feel nauseated. Another solvent, acetone, can irritate your nose, throat, lungs, and eyes. You wouldn't want your kids to be exposed to solvent vapors. And one scientist at the State Department of Toxic Substances Control mentioned another solvent sometimes used in body work. That's NMP. The state says NMP should be treated as a reproductive hazard.
So what did you find in your research? Are these pollutants more prevalent in certain communities?
We mapped the complaints we got, and you can see certain hot spots, Lemon Grove and City Heights, but there really is quite a spread, and some people will complain while others don't. They might put up with it, or they might just move away, but I think it's fair to assume that some people do not complain, so the problem could be more prevalent than these numbers show.
So what do you think this is? Is this a case of unregulated shops just not following guidelines?
There are shops that are unlicensed and just sort of pop up and don't follow the rules. A number of the complaints are about people performing the work in a residential neighborhood, and there are a number of rules they could be breaking there. The San Diego Air Pollution Control District looks for these operations and it shuts them down. So if you suspect one, you should call them. And there's also a state agency, little known, called the Bureau of Automotive Repair, and they'll also investigate reports of unlicensed operations. So the clean shops who are obeying the rules want you to call this agency if you have a problem with an auto paint operation. But some of the complaints are against well-established shops, even companies that have multiple locations. And the county, which would not talk with us, by the way, said they decide on a case-by-case basis whether a shop needs to put filters on their exhaust systems. And that seems to be at odds with federal law, so it raises some questions.
So, of course, clean air is important, Ingrid, but when it comes to pollutants, just how big of an overall contributor are these shops?
We're not saying there's an epidemic of problems with auto body in San Diego. We just thought it's worth noting that more than 10% of all the air complaints, including complaints about smoke, dust, or chemical fumes in the county, more than 10% were about auto paint operations.
Ingrid Lobet with iNewsSource, thanks so much.
The Jacobs Center for Neighborhood Innovation has been part of the southeastern San Diego community since 1995. Right now, the main financial support for the charity comes from one family. But KPBS reporter Claire Tregesser tells us the support is winding down, which means the Jacobs Center could struggle to survive.
They let us build 2 walls. We're supposed to be temporary. We ran out of space the next day, so we built 2 more walls and then 2 more walls after that. So eventually we kind of had this art park.
Sergio Gonzalez shows off writer's block, where teenagers and artists come to make graffiti murals.
A big problem in this community has always been, gangs, violence, illegal graffiti.
Gonzalez was a teenager when the Jacobs family began buying property in his neighborhood.
To us, it was kind of a threat because we didn't really know who these people were or what was going on. So, we kind of felt threatened. So we would go out and deface their properties to kind of just keep them away.
Instead of fighting the graffiti, they set aside a space for them to do it.
What started as a nomadic program as a way to minimize vandalism in this community has now turned into one of the most unique art parks.
Writer's Block is part of the Jacobs Center, a charity started by Joe and Vi Jacobs. Joe earned a doctorate in chemical engineering and founded the Jacobs Engineering Group in the 1940s.
My dad's company went public in the early 1970s, and he told us at that time that he got a huge influx of cash from that. And we were all very surprised about that. And he and my mom almost immediately went home and decided that they were going to give most of it away.
Valerie Jacobs is their daughter. Her father died in 2004 and her mother last year. She says the family chose southeastern San Diego because it was one of the few causes they could agree on.
Our family is very divided politically, but we did find common ground in trying to help people, give people a hand up, not a handout.
The family has given $100 million total to the Jacobs Center, but in 2030, that funding will end.
We're going to go out of business, so the community will be inheriting the assets that we've built.
She says the plan was always to phase out funding, then see if the family's efforts last.
This is a grand experiment. Nobody's ever done this before, and one of our values in the Jacobs family has always been risk-taking, and we might fail.
What we hope to do is leverage the family's investment with other funders.
Reginald Jones is the CEO of the Jacobs Center. He's trying to attract new funders and government grants so its work can continue.
Philanthropy can't do what government should do in really uplifting historically underinvested communities like Southeastern San Diego.
You can't be a philanthropist that comes in, makes a few grants, and leaves.
Nancy Jamison is president of San Diego Grantmakers, a nonprofit membership association. She says nonprofits that are rooted in a specific area have the added challenge of working closely with the community.
Truly listen to what the community members need as opposed to fly in and say, okay, we're going to do this for you.
She says replacing the money the foundation gives will be difficult, but becoming a public charity will help.
If you're a foundation, people tend, and this is a perception issue, tend to think that, well, you're a foundation, you got this.
Back at Writer's Block, Sergio Gonzalez is planning for the end of the Jacobs funding as well.
So that's why we're, building our capacity as residents, as business owners, and to learn about, everything that we need to know. So once they're gone, we're not left, just here with nothing.
He's working to make his program a separate nonprofit. Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
Video journalist Nick McVicker helped produce that story. San Diego City staffers have selected a preferred buyer for the Truax House. That's the vacant home in Bankers Hill that once served as the city's first AIDS hospice. The city picked Not Shop Design and Development's bid of $2.5 million. The firm says it's committed to restoring the Truax house from its current disrepair. The city council is scheduled to vote on whether to accept the bid and development plans at its meeting on Tuesday. The Grossmont-Cuyamaca College District is launching a degree program in the Comey studies this fall. Students in the program will earn an associate's degree and credits to help them transfer to a 4-year university. Classes include ecology, botany, toolmaking, and language. Looks like beach weather is on tap for San Diego this weekend. Molly Cochran has the forecast in tonight's KPBS Weather Report.
Well, the California coast staying quiet and dry for this Friday night. As we head into the interior sections, though, still watching some pop-up showers and thunderstorms, mainly to the east of Phoenix. Monsoonal moisture set to return into next week. So we have had a dry weather pattern this week, changes coming up next week. But that's not going to mean much for the San Diego area. We're expecting to stay dry. You know the drill. We'll have those low clouds come in late, then into the afternoon the sun shines back out to play. Now some fog pushing in for the later half of tonight. Overnight lows stay in the upper 60s, and that's pretty close to where we should be at for this time of year. Elsewhere at the coast, right around 68 in Oceanside. Back towards Mount Laguna, a little bit cooler here, coming back into the lower 60s in the higher elevations. Now into the start of the weekend, the California coast stays a little bit on the cool side, but the interior section's still going to be quite warm. So maybe you have a getaway plan coming up on Saturday into Sunday, perhaps to Las Vegas or Phoenix. It's going to be hot. And not only that, but afternoon thunderstorms will be possible in some locations for the Four Corners. But for the most part, it is dry and relatively quiet for much of the viewing area. So each day, we will start off with some fog and some lower clouds into Sunday, then some sunshine back out to play for the afternoon. Our daytime high is going to stay consistently into the lower 80s with our overnight lows in the mid 60s. Some fog continues for Monday morning, so perhaps give yourself 5-10 extra minutes to get to the office once again, but that sunshine will return into the afternoon. As we head into the interior sections, notice how our temperatures are in the mid to upper 80s, still a similar forecast, though, fog to start things off, and then some sunshine popping through the clouds for the later half of the afternoon. In the mountains, temperature of 86 on Saturday, a little bit cooler on Sunday, even could be talking a thunderstorm around, and that will stick around into Monday. So do keep an eye to the sky if you are traveling here. Overnight lows coming back into the upper 50s. So warm in the afternoon, but a little bit cooler into the overnight. For the deserts, temperatures into the triple digits, a strong thunderstorm possible on Sunday, and we want to be mindful of the potential for some flash flooding because the ground is very dry here. Some of those thunderstorms linger into Monday afternoon with a high of 103. Tuesday and Wednesday, temperatures still in the triple digits, but we're looking at a little bit more sunshine by Wednesday. Molly Cochran, KPBS News.
In folklore, the unicorn is a mythical creature, but in the startup world, the unicorn is a very real beast. The term has been applied to privately held companies valued at $1 billion or more. These high-tech growth startups were once thought to be mythically rare, but today, the Bay Area has more than 50 unicorns. Meanwhile, KPBS tech reporter David Wagner says the San Diego region has actually lost one of its few unicorns.
This is our showroom. So
walking into the corporate headquarters of Razer is probably as close as you'll get to walking into the movie Tron.
On the other side of the screen, it all looks so easy.
Everything here is glowing. Razer is a company that makes high-end computer gear, and they use colorful, pulsating lights to bring a distinctive look to their mouses, laptops, and keyboards. Kevin Sather does product marketing for Razer.
When you hit a key, it kind of lights up and slowly fades out afterwards, so as you're typing really fast, it gives you this really cool visual.
But customers aren't buying Razer products just for the pretty lights. They're buying them because they're designed with video gamers in mind. Elite pro gamers and casual players alike turn to Razer products for speed. In many games, the difference between winning and losing is measured in split seconds. And Sather says a meticulously engineered mechanical Razer keyboard gives gamers a competitive edge.
When you're casting a spell or you're reloading your weapon or doing something in the game or even movement commands, you want to be as precise as possible. So minimizing the variation in where that keystroke registers is critically important for gamers so they know that they can get the exact response they're looking for.
Razer products tend to have way more features than your typical office keyboard or mouse. Spokesman Kevin Scarpati says their popular Naga mouse is a good example.
The mouse has 17 buttons on it, which, when we came up with it, we had no idea it was going to do as well as it did because nobody had ever made a mouse with that many buttons before.
Gamers are happy to pay a premium for all those buttons. The Naga mouse retails for $80 on the Razer website. Today, Razer is reportedly worth over $1 billion, making it a bona fide tech unicorn. The company was founded in San Diego, but about a year ago, it pulled up stakes. It moved its headquarters from Carlsbad to Irvine. Scarpati says Orange County, with its huge concentration of gaming companies, is just a better fit.
We just got a fantastic opportunity up here. And, you know, while we were sad to leave San Diego, it made sense as a business.
Razor's new offices are just across the street from World of Warcraft developer Blizzard Entertainment. They can recruit from a larger talent pool here, and their spacious new office has lots of room for growth. Scarpati says the local business community didn't do anything to push Razor away, but it made sense to relocate.
You know, being in such a great area was great for the company for many years, and you know, certainly being in Irvine and having a nice office space and being able to draw from larger talent pools, it's great to be up here as well.
Some local startup scene boosters have been calling San Diego the next Silicon Valley. But when you tally up the unicorns in each region, you see a huge disparity. The Bay Area has dozens of unicorns. With Razor now gone, the San Diego region has only a few known unicorns. One of them is Human Longevity Inc., a company run by J. Craig Venter, who played a key role in sequencing the first human genome. Mike Kren is president of the San Diego Venture Group.
We'd love to have more unicorn companies here. Of course we would. But that said, I don't think you count that against San Diego, or it's not everything to have a bunch of unicorn companies.
Kren suspects that not all unicorns are actually worth $1 billion. He says Bay Area venture capitalists tell him valuations there are getting too high. They worry some companies are chasing unicorn status at the expense of building a solid business. Kren also says companies here don't tend to be as consumer-oriented as Bay Area unicorns like Uber and Airbnb. And successful local companies often get acquired before achieving sky-high valuations. Kren would have loved to see Razor stay in Carlsbad, but he understands why they moved. He hopes San Diego's industry clusters will bring other types of unicorns here.
If it was best for them to move to Irvine, then they should move to Irvine. And hopefully the same reciprocates the other way around. If you're a good genomics company, you're going to come to San Diego.
It's not like Razor moved very far. Many employees still commute from North County. But if you live further south and you want to work at one of the few companies where gaming at your desk won't get you fired, your dream job may now be out of reach. David Wagner, KPBS News.
The Democrats nominated Hillary Clinton with a boost from Bernie Sanders. Meanwhile, 2 class action lawsuits against Donald Trump and Trump University are making their way through San Diego courts. It's all on the roundtable tonight at 8:30.
During the Democratic National Convention this week, a Philadelphia museum was showing off its historical collection of presidential hair. AP reporter Robert Bumstead has more.
From Donald Trump's famous do to the many shades and styles of Hillary Clinton, the subject of hair has come up a lot with this year's presidential candidates. But obsession with high-profile hair is nothing new. It goes way back in American pop culture. Just up the street from the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia, the Academy of Natural Sciences at Drexel University is showing off a one-of-a-kind collection of presidential hair.
How many of us actually get to see a president ever? And this is as close as you're ever going to get to the president himself.
Bob Peck is a curator at the Academy. Drexel inherited the collection from a member in the 19th century who studied hair as a hobby. It includes 12 presidents, from Andrew Jackson,
it's quite a big tuft of hair,
to Thomas Jefferson.
Jefferson was fascinated by science. He would have been intrigued by this collection.
And George Washington, whose hair was apparently in great demand.
He received letters from admirers when he was at Valley Forge. Could you break from your military activities to just snip a little bit of hair and send it our way?
There's been a fair amount of scandal, too, surrounding hair in the presidency. In an incident dubbed Hairgate, President Bill Clinton was scolded for holding up an airport runway while he got a cut on Air Force One. The reports turned out to be false, but the story persisted. In the 2008 primary, John Edwards made headlines when his Federal Election Commission records showed haircuts costing 3 figures. Recently, former President Jimmy Carter offered to contribute his own hair to the collection, adding to the diverse dues of past presidents. Still, there's always one constant.
What changes generally during a presidency is the color of their hair.
Robert Bumstead, Associated Press, Philadelphia.
Point Loma is hosting an international robotics event this weekend. 46 student teams from 9 different countries are competing in the 19th annual International RoboSub competition. The event is hosted by the U.S. Navy's Space and Naval Warfare System Center. Teams will battle it out to see which robot can score the most points in the underwater course. Representing San Diego this year is Coleman University, San Diego State, City College, and San Diego Robotics 101. The competition runs through Sunday and is free and open to the public.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, Shields and Brooks analyze the race for the White House after the conventions. That's Friday on the PBS News Hour.
Recapping tonight's top stories, 2 men are in custody after the fatal shooting of a San Diego police officer and the wounding of another last night. One is a suspect in the shooting. The other is being investigated for his possible connection to the crime. 43-year-old Jonathan de Guzman died of his injuries. The second officer, 32-year-old Wade Irwin, remains in the hospital and is expected to survive. You can find more on tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us.